All right, finally getting around to MMP's Front Toward Enemy, which is a Vietnam firefight tactical level game that puts each player in the role of a company commander, pitting a U.S. infantry company against the National Liberation Front Viet Cong or National Vietnam Army forces. Each turn is about 5 minutes of real life time, and each hex is about 50 meters. I just thought in this one I would go over the counters. They're nice and big in this game. I kind of like that. So I just thought I'd go over kind of a description of what some of these numbers meant. The counters are pretty easy and straightforward. You also have leaders in this game, and it uses a chit activation system along with a random event chit, which is pretty cool. It's got your basic, these units here have got your fire rating, and the box behind it, the color behind it will tell you what kind of firing it's going to be doing. We'll get into the firing combat a little bit later in a different video, but it's kind of like Grand Tactical, where the color tells you the kind of attack you're going to be doing. So I kind of like that. As soon as I saw that, I was instantly like, oh, well, I know what that means. That's easy. Along with the other game markers and things like that, you're going to have vehicles, your leaders, fire teams, and the amount of troops. Actually, the picture shown on there, like this is a fire team of 4, and that's useful for transporting and loading, and you'll need to know that stuff. This is your troop quality rating. You're going to need this to go into concealment or do certain morale events and things like that. And your troop quality for the leader will be green. That's how you know it's a leader. And last but not least, you have a range here. So for example, this 60 millimeter mortar can go 14. And here's an armored personnel carrier. Now, some of the vehicles will have a defense modifier on there. So that's what you see right here. And that comes into play when being shot at and things like that. Now, for activation, you're going to have these counters here. You're going to see like a NVA VC activation like this, or it's going to be a US activation like so, or you might get a random event, which can generate heroes, by the way. You can actually generate a hero off of a random event. And then you're going to have markers for when you take your actions. You're going to put these on top of a unit that's completed an activation, like so. Just to kind of help you get familiar with who's done what on the field. So just a quick primer, that the color on the box, red is small arms, okay? And then when you see yellow, that's high explosive, and white is dual purpose. So that might harken you back to Grand Tactical if you've played that. Kind of the same idea. If there's a white stripe like that, it means it's been reduced. Hopefully you can see that. So yeah, the white stripe means that it's been reduced. And like I said before, the number of figures on the counter is the number of troops that the unit represents. This is important for loading and unloading units and things like that. All right, so let's flip this guy back over. So just kind of like a basic counter overlook. And then of course there's your markers and your helicopters and things like that. If you get a hero, for example, I don't think I have a hero. Yeah, you'll be putting this on top of the person that got promoted. And there's some other things that can happen too. Concealed is a big thing in this game. You can have a unit get concealed and you can't look under that to see what that actually is. And along with that, the NVA player is given some dummy units here. Much like we saw in Silver Bayonet. I don't know if you watch my videos, but you'll put this on top, and the American player won't know what this is, and it moves normal. And if you discover it, that it's a dummy unit, you'll just remove it from the board. So I thought that was pretty neat. Okay. Movement is kind of like Grand Tactical. The map is pretty helpful with that. The color of the dot tells you the terrain. So it's pretty easy to look at the map and see what's happening with line of sight and things like that. Some of the terrains we see here are yellow, I believe, is rice paddy right here. If you can barely see that. This is a hamlet where it's brown like that. White is clear, of course. Jungle is the black dot. right there. And I don't think I have any other type of terrain on here. There's also a slope, stream, trail, road, and grass, which is green. I don't think we have any of that on here. So it's kind of nice that the dot, it makes it easy, and you know what it's supposed to represent. No half and half terrain or trying to guess anything like that, or the most terrain in a hex, etc. And for a visual comparison, you can see the hexes compared to the counters. So you can get an idea of, you know, they're easy to read. I like that. So they fit in the hexes nicely. And then of course we'll have a cup that we put our activation chits in. The scenario will tell you how many you get and who has the first activation. And then you basically choose actions to do for whatever you want to activate. And there's a list of actions that you can do. And some of them are, for example, you can perform one of something like move, fire, assault, search, recover, destroy a weapons cache, request a medevac, or a fire mission. And vehicles can do 2 actions. They can move, fire, load, unload, assault, recover. There's actually medics in this game where you try to heal your wounded, and the medic will help provide a bonus for that. You don't want to take any KIAs because it'll give points to the other player. And as far as stacking, it's unlimited for infantry units. And it can also contain up to 2 vehicles or 1 helicopter. Destroyed helicopters do not count toward a stacking limit. There's also civilian markers. Do I have those? Yeah, here that the NVA player can control. And he can basically move these and put them in the way of the US player and really kind of just get on his nerves. He just moves the civilians, and then you have to avoid casualties and things like that. So the civilians are just kind of like speed bumps. And you can see some of the other counters here: foxholes, bunkers, weapons caches, and then a whole bunch of status markers for all the different things you can do. And that's kind of an overview. The rule book's about 20 pages. Let me see if it's, let me see where the gobbledygook stops here. Yeah, page 20 is where the victory conditions are listed, and then 21 toward the end there is just them talking about how they designed the game and everything. And I think that's about it. That covers pretty much the units. Pretty easy stuff. Basically, for each activation, a player will pull a chit from a cup, and the chit will indicate which player may perform an activation. You can activate a leader in any and all of the units within his command range. So that's one way to get multiple things activated. Would be like if you had a leader out here and you had another unit, you could then, let's see if I can find one here. Use his command range to activate multiples, and I believe the command range for a leader is 2, and that's just a standard number. And your movement points, I believe, are also set in this game at like 5, I believe. I was going to explain that next, but everything's kind of a base movement point. You can also double time, which is kind of neat. Infantry can move 5, and you can double time. And when you do that, the movement points are increased from 5 to 9, but they become exhausted. So a basic infantry speed is set, same with vehicles, and then a basic command range is set. So let's see how some of that might work here. I'll have to get some more units out on the board. I should also point out that, like a lot of the games I'm playing now, I'm seeing the 6-sided die kind of go away. 10-sided die is used, and the 0 is a 10. A roll of 10 always fails in this game. 1 succeeds. So a high roll is bad. So there's no zeros, just a heads up. Elsewhere, you do get this cool helicopter load manifest. So you can put your counters like in the helicopter, and your victory point track, and then your turn track. I thought this was kind of neat. I love Vietnam games that simulate all the helicopter stuff, and I have a feeling you're going to need it in this game. I didn't really cover Silver Bayonet helicopters, but I'll go back to that game soon. I just kind of wanted to move on, and some people were looking to see front toward enemy. So here's a sample little setup. I'll kind of show you how this works really quick. I don't want to go too into this one because I want the next video to be combat and things like that and all the stuff that can happen. I may not be doing the next video directly after this one, just a heads up. But I just wanted to get some people familiar with Front Toward Enemy. It seems pretty cool. It's a little bit basic, but I kind of like it. I think it'll be a fast-playing game so far, at least from what I'm reading. The scenario is going to usually tell you how many chits you get and how big the map is. The learning scenario is called Evade and Escape. And you'll see right here, it'll tell you, for example, the NVA forces start with 3 activation chits. And then it has the American forces with 2 activation chits. Well, I'm losing it there. You can see that right there. And it kind of tells you the map, and it tells you what you use in the scenario. There's some special rules for this one. About 1 hour long, they say. 12 game turns. So it kind of tells you what to put in the cup. I'm going to, of course, ignore that for now and just kind of make up my own thing here. Keep in mind that each unit may be only activated once, and you use the activation complete markers to indicate which units have activated their, or have completed their activation. And that was the one that we saw here. So basically, the scenario may tell you who goes first, but here I'm just going to pretend that I draw a chit. It may say, you know, the Americans go first. But we're going to say we draw this chit. They're approaching a village here, and there's VC in the village. The leader's in back, and of course they're up here in the huts. And the Americans are coming out of the jungle here along the river line. There's a trail. And so we're going to say we pull this chit. And then the American player could activate a leader. Should be right here, your platoon sergeant. Okay, so you could activate him and then activate anyone within 2 hexes. Activate a leader and any or all friendly infantry units within 2 hexes. The VC player, of course, could activate their own units or civilians. And a broken leader, if they're broken, they can only activate himself for recover or move. There's also suppressed. When a leader is suppressed, they can only activate units in their own hex. But we'll get to all those status things later. So we're going to put him back here. He's telling the guys to go up and patrol along that river. And you'll notice that there's 4 people and 4 people. You can also pass. You can say, you know what, I'm going to pass. I want to see, because there is opportunity fire in this game. So he can say, I'm going to pass. Let's draw another chit. But we're not going to pass here. Now, one thing they've done is they made it pretty easy. If there's terrain with a red hex, it blocks line of sight if it passes through here. Just take a note that it has to be 3 or more rice paddies to block line of sight. So if it's red, like Hamlet, if I was here and they tried to shoot this one would block line of sight. It just takes 1 of those to block line of sight. So the charts make it pretty easy to read these. Now, opportunity fire in this game works a lot like Grand Tactical Series. If you have line of sight and see someone you want to shoot at, you need to make a troop quality check before you can do the opportunity fire. Once you opportunity fire, there's some other rules too that we'll go over, but once you do that, you'll put an op fired marker on that unit, and it can't do that anymore until the current activation's over. Then you take this off. Okay. So it's pretty basic stuff, easy to learn, I think, so far. And movement is just straightforward. Count your hexes and move. And it's all in the activation and how you want to activate things. Not too difficult. Your clear terrain is 1 point. So you can see how fast you can move. Here, for example, would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then going over a little stream there is +1. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then your leader would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like that. Stream is listed as +1. And I don't think there's any rivers in this. It's all just streams. So that's kind of a neat feature. You don't have to worry too much about that terrain. Roads are listed as 1D. It negates movement point cost of other terrain except slope. And jungles are normally 2 for infantry. So if you're on a trail, you can move through a jungle at the rate of 1, and that would negate that jungle 2 that you have to worry about. So that's kind of neat also. Put them back up here. Now, of course, you know, this move would probably not go over too well because you know there's going to be some opportunity fire coming out of that hex. That would be my guess. And then there's different rules for concealment and things like that. So very simple. Look at the counters, and kind of you can see a little bit of Grand Tactical Series in there. You know, the op fire with the troop quality and things like that. We're looking at this VC unit right here. So again, simple stuff, and now I just wanted to get this video up there and show you guys how all that works. And so, for example, if they wanted opportunity fire, they would roll, and there's a 4. But you can have, say if you had another VC unit, I don't have one out. If you had another one next to it, you could get a -1 DRM to that roll to try to get that opportunity fire if you combine. So, all right. So I will be back a little bit later with this game, and we can talk about random events and all the different things that can happen and how helicopters work, and there's some medics and things like that. So, all right, just a very brief overview of Front Toward Enemy, a game which I've had for a while. I just finally decided to look at, and pretty quick playing and pretty neat. So I like some of the rules, like the dummy counters and things like that, and it looks like it might be pretty fun. All right, thanks for watching.